I spent 6 months in South Africa, came back to Canada for a week, and then I drove down to Miami for my next one. And this is my first major U.S. market. I've got representation in Miami. Mm-hmm. So I get there, and the second day I'm there, I still haven't found a place to live yet. And my agency calls me, and they're like, "We got a casting for you." It's actually it's what's called a go-see, which is basically a private casting where if you're new to a market or if you have new pictures come out, a photographer or designer might ask to see you specifically. And I was new to it, so I was like, "Great, that's awesome. That's 2 days here. That's great." But my booker said that, just so you know, this casting is going to be at this guy's house. I'm like, okay. It's going to be at 8:30 at night. And I was like, okay. And this guy's notoriously a bit of a creep. And I was like, okay.
Asterisk.
Yeah, exactly. But if he likes you, he'll book you a lot. It's like, okay. So this is back in 2010. So I go to the casting, and he was a swimwear and underwear designer. And like I said, it was just me and him. I'm at his house. I was going to the bathroom, change and do a couple things. He's like, I'd like to see you try a couple things on. Showed him my portfolio, here are my pictures. And it's not unnormal for us models to walk into somewhere and then go put on like a Speedo. Yeah. It sounds very foreign to a lot of people, but it's part of the gig. And so that wasn't that big of a deal. But every time I came out with a new piece of clothing, like I was 3 pieces of clothing in, and he went from like standing and evaluating how the fit was and stuff, to now he's like sitting, and now he's sitting on a stool like at my crotch level. And I'm like, okay, whatever. He's just checking out the fabric, and like he's taking more and more time to check out the fabric. And I'm like, dude, this is Speedo. You can't check out like that much fabric. Like, what are we doing here? Like, my crotch is here and his face is here. I'm like, whatever. So he goes and has me trying another one, and when I came back out this time, he pulled my pants down and he started to sexually assault me. Oh my. And my first thought was shock. Was like, what? Like I couldn't believe that this line was being crossed. My second thought, because of my background from lacrosse and then also from, my mom passing away and just, I've been in a lot of physical altercations. I've been in a lot of fights, whether it was sports or bar fights or street fights, whatever. I know how to handle myself. I've lost a lot of fights, but I've also won a lot of fights. So my next thought was, I'm going to beat this person to death. Then I thought to myself, well, no, because then I'm going to go to jail. I'll get attempted murder or even worse, murder. I decided to I said, you know what? I pushed them away. Mm-hmm. I was like, I need to get out of the situation. I went back. I was like, F you. I don't want your, don't touch me. I don't want your business. I'm out of here. Whatever. I left. Well, I didn't tell anybody at all. I didn't tell my agency because I was ashamed. I was embarrassed. I was confused. I was mad. Every emotion you could think of, I was. But at the same time, I didn't want to be known as like a troublemaker, because back then, before the Me Too movement, if you kind of ruffled feathers, it would go from one designer to their photographer friend to that designer, and you would kind of get blacklisted.